Welcome to Backstory Song. I'm your host, Doug Burke, and today we're here with the members of the band Bandits on the Run. Bandits on the Run consists of three members, Adrian Enscoe, Sydney Shepherd, and Regina Strayhorn, who go by stage name aliases of Roy Dodger, Bonanza Jellyfish, and Clarissa. They started their musical journey by busking in the New York City subway system. The band formed when Shepherd saw Enscoe busking, and they struck up a conversation that led to a romantic relationship and continues as a musical collaboration today. Shepherd's college friend Strayhorn joined with additional harmonies and instruments, rounding out the band. They shot their video for Love in the Underground commando style, or bandit style, without the permission of the MTA, who finally tossed them out of the subway, but not before they had got the film shots they wanted. The band features 60s throwback harmonies with a pop music cello at its core. Their new album, The Criminal Record, has been positively received and led to an invitation to perform at the Sundance ASCAP Music Cafe at the Sundance Film Festival in Park City. So let me start at the beginning. I'm with Bandits on the Run.
Woo!
And
I just cheered for us.
Your members are Roy Dodger.
That's me.
Bonanza Jellyfish.
Hello.
And Clarissa.
Hello.
And do we stay in persona for this, or do you?
The thing about the personas is it's basically us. It's like a it's like a heightened version of ourselves. So you can call us by our real names. We'll respond, which are Sydney,
Adrian,
and Regina.
I don't know if I can keep it all track of it all.
It's okay. We'll answer to either.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So can you tell me the background on the names, like why it fits your persona?
Yes, I mean, just when we started, the whole thing was kind of like this guerrilla, like immersive theater project idea, which was that we would be bandits on the subway and do like train car holdups in the style of the 1850s, and engaging with this like American mythos of bandits being on the run, but in kind of a romantic way.
Right. So instead of like outlaws who are there to harm you, it was like a Robin Hood sort of style thing. Like we're stealing your attention for something.
Yeah,
like,
we're going to bring you music for free.
Right. And so, I mean, you have like these sort of legendary outlaws. Everyone has like an alias. So we all decided to create aliases for ourselves. And it all sort of comes from different inspirations. Like my name, Bonanza Jellyfish, is sort of a bastardization of a character from Tom Robbins' book, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. There's a character named Bonanza Jellybean who I really heavily identified with and liked. So that's how I came up with my...
Where'd the jellyfish part come from?
Well, this is a long story. Well, my name is Sydney, and so my best friend's dad growing up would call me Squidney. So I like heavily identify with like animals with tentacles, and so yeah, I just thought I thought that was and you know they're weird and mysterious and dangerous. They're like otherworldly weird creatures, which I like.
I was gonna guess that you were SpongeBob SquarePants fan.
I did. That's my generation. I'd say, yeah, I watched some SpongeBob. Yeah, maybe that's
where
the
I
easier
thought
answer.
it had come from. But I was like, yes. Anyway,
No, it's far more literary than that.
yes, it really is.
So for me, I guess Roy Dodger, I was kind of like really into this whole like cowboy vigilante kind of identity, and I had been watching all these Roy Rogers videos. I loved that he would like ride a horse and play guitar and sing, and I also really like the Artful Dodger from Oliver, who's like kind of a rabble rouser, someone who's like gonna cause mischief on the streets, and so that was definitely just a conglomeration of the two of them. Oh, and Roy, I like to think of myself as very princely, so
okay.
Roy in my mind is short for Royal Dodger.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And then for Clarissa, I have no last name because I really kind of like people like Cher, Beyonce, Madonna, where there's just a kind of diva aspect of it. And also Clarissa is alluding to being clairvoyant. And in the Bandits universe, Clarissa is a little bit more of a trickster. She's more like a Miss Cleo or like a Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost sort of figure, where she's more of a hustler than a real clairvoyant. But then there are some times where she actually does have mystical powers. So that's where I got that from. I like to be quite silly and overdramatic, and I think that's part of where that sort of mysterious vibe comes from.
Well, I definitely got a Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid kind of feel. I don't know if that was inspirational for you guys at all.
Definitely.
Okay. And then I was wondering if Bandits on the Run was at all a reference to Paul McCartney's Band on the Run song.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's definitely where it came from. I was listening to a vinyl of that album in Los Angeles, actually right around the time that Regina moved to New York. So I knew that we all wanted to do a musical project together. We were just kind of looking for the identity and the kind of the game behind it. And I thought, well, Band on the Run was awesome, but like it'd be really fun to like make it a little bit more literal and just be bandits on the run. And so that kind of like that ended up spawning the idea of doing these train car holdups, and that was really what kind of like gelled the world for us of these characters.
I've read that you guys do a lot of pranky, trickstery stuff in your shows, and I want to table that for a second because I really want to dive into the backstory of a song, and really this is up to you to I don't know if you've decided what song you'd like to talk about as a group, but
well, you said a couple songs,
as many as you want.
Okay,
just
cool.
Go as long as you want.
There was one that you mentioned in the
well, I just got your criminal record printout of your song. So, but
that's right.
Which is out there. I think I should actually talk about that. I think your digital presence is better than most, and
that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
That's funny because we consider ourselves so much of a live act. It's nice to hear somebody liking or appreciating the digital presence, because so much of the time we're like, oh, but they haven't seen this yet.
Because the positive side is that we're always creating something new, and we call them shenanigans at our shows. We always are coming up with new shenanigans, and we write so much. We really like have so much material that we're working on putting out there. So the good news is we have a lot of stuff. The bad news is sometimes it's so hard to translate that onto, a screen, but we try. So thank you.
And we're very picky. We really like to put stuff out that we are totally over the moon with. So we've been slower in the process of getting everything out online.
I mean, I think I was gonna say that maybe a good song to start with would be "Love in the Underground," because it's not. I mean, we're releasing it soon, so it's not like
so it's unreleased. So I don't have the lyrics for it.
You don't have the lyrics for it, but
that's fine.
But there's a YouTube video out for it. Oh, do you have to have the lyrics for it?
No, I don't care.
Okay, cool. I think it's just a good, I guess, intro to the band because it sort of like talks about a part of our origin story. Are you pulling up the lyrics? Yeah. Awesome.
We're not strangers now. Finally found love in the underground. I spent my ticket to ride, going nowhere on a train past midnight. Bright city lights flickering by. I'm dragging my heavy heart onto the platform, and there you are, with the beat up old guitar and a song about to start. Hold my heart, oh, let my weight hang in your hand.
So "Love in the Underground," fire away.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of an interesting song for us. It was a monumental landmark because it was the first song that all three of us really heavily contributed to the lyrics. Usually what happens, authenticity is very important to us. And so I think the best way often to get that is to have one person's voice really guide the storytelling and the character.
Right. So like you'll have somebody, one of us from the band will come in with like a skeleton for a song, basically. So like sort of a general idea of melody and like a lot of the lyrics. And then we sort of all like huddle around and, figure out what works and what doesn't work and start to use the instrumentation to kind of build the song. Cause like so much of the harmonies and stuff aren't just decoration for us. It's all very sort of kind of like built into the fabric of the songs. So yeah, so it is interesting because Love in the Underground was very much like all of us sitting in a kitchen in one room. Like I can't even remember who wrote what in this song, actually.
Yeah, because we were entered into a competition. It was the coffee music project, and that was happening. I believe like the first round was on a Monday, and for the competition, you were performing an original song and then a song that you wrote about a topic, and the topic was New York, and so we were like. Time got away from us, and it was the day before, and we said, "Oh my gosh! Well, we have to write a song."
Wait. We can go further back though, because like really, the story starts with we got accepted into the competition. We were on tour in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. We were sitting around having brunch, and we got this email, and we were talking about ideas for the song, and we were like, "What could encapsulate?" Life in New York, and we really wanted to frame it in a positive light because typically people can be really dark about New York and say like, oh, it's so hard to be an artist in New York, and that seemed like an easy choice. So we wanted to tell a positive, uplifting story, which was readily available to us because, in fact, Sydney and I met on the subway.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. When we first, Sydney and Regina had gone to school together, and they had co-written songs over their time at school. But when I met Sydney, I was just playing music on the subway. I got really into busking the first year that I moved to New York, and Sydney came down the stairs, and it was a relatively deserted subway stop. So essentially, I was just playing songs for Sydney. And
did she have her cello?
She didn't have her cello, but I found out very quickly that she was a cellist because I started talking to her, and then when the train came, I was like, oh, actually, I was going to get on the train. So, yeah.
Let's go on together.
We'll take the train together. And then we started talking, found out that we were both musicians. And
well, she could tell you were.
Yeah. I kind of led with that. But it was a totally random kind of chance encounter that happened in a way that really... I mean, it could happen in public transport anywhere, but New York subway system is very iconic to New York and as like kind of a mixing pot, right. Melting pot for everybody.
And like the fact that like such a formative experience could happen like in that second because of something that was like built in New York was really exciting. So we actually named the song Love in the Underground before we wrote anything else. Like we decided that was the title, like at brunch that they were like, okay, we're going to write about meeting. Okay, Love in the Underground. That's a good title. And then like
also because the competition was run by these really wonderful people from London, and so that's the reason that we called it the Underground instead of the subway. Although
I don't think that's not the reason.
I mean, I think
no, that's not the reason. That was a happy coincidence. Yeah. That's not. We weren't thinking, oh, we're going to win this British competition. We're going to say the Underground. No, Love in the Underground is more poetic than Love in the Subway. That sounds so dumb. Yeah. No, that is false information.
And the rhymes would have been totally different if it was Love in the Subway. We like the rhymes and Loved in the Underground.
That's fair. So when we actually got in the room, we usually do. We're very lucky as a band because we don't need to rent. Most of the time, we don't rent rehearsal space. We are very acoustic. We have pretty minimal percussion, so and we don't have a bass player, so we're able to kind of work around a kitchen table. So that's where we do a lot of our work, and we were just sitting around the kitchen table, and we really like kind of mapped out the story together. Like Regina would say a line, and we'd be like, "Oh, I like that. How does that sound in a melody?" And we talked it over for this whole night, and we basically wrote the entire melody and maybe not the bridge. There were some holes in it. And we had one more day to rehearse it after that, and we kind of smoothed it all over just in time for the competition. We went for the first round of the competition, and we ended up making it through to the next round. which we also won a couple weeks later. And so
Nice.
the prize is actually going to London and playing at the London Coffee Festival and recording the song there, which we basically just kind of use as an exercise to demo it out.
Yeah, because this particular song is really special because we worked on it after the competition as well, which I feel like is a little bit more unique and also something that we're doing more now, where we are like this particular song. They, as a whole, the way that its first iteration, we were pretty happy with it, but there were some moments where we're like, oh, I think that could make more sense, or that could be, I'm not a biggest fan of this as I could be, and we went back and we changed a couple things, and
We rewrote lyrics after that after probably about 9 months after we'd written the song. We were going back rewriting lyrics, and then even a year later, we revamped the bridge.
Which is a big reason why it's not out yet. Because like this song is such a calling card for us because it's so distinctively us, like the instrumentation, the harmonies, everything is so us. And the story, of course. But one thing about this that I do think the whole like British competition thing did influence was that we found these harmonies that we were like, oh, that is kind of Beatlesy. And then we like really leaned into that in this song. And so I think a lot of the songs we've written post Love in the Underground have had a little more Beatles influence as well, I would venture to say. Not in like any sort of like obvious way, but that was a really good sort of, just to find out that we could do something like that was a cool milestone for us, I think.
I think that you hit on one of the things I love about your sound, and that is the combination of this unusual instrumentation and harmonies. Mm-hmm. And in particular, I think you are the second rock cellist that I've actually seen, but the first one I've actually listened to a recording of, and kind of funky. So tell me about that. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean,
the only other one I was in Austin, Texas, on 6th Street, and there was a cellist and a guitarist, and I was like, oh, I never saw that before.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward to Bandits on the Run.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that wasn't you, right?
Maybe in another life.
We played in Austin.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
on the street in Austin.
But the funny thing is, I think that it's becoming more of a moment now, like having strings in more rock and folk bands, which is funny because like when we first started playing together, people like assumed we were like a bluegrass band or like a super folky band, which like I guess is just like from the way we look and our instruments. But we've had to like really draw a line and be like, no, we have our own sound, we're our own genre. Just because the instruments look like this doesn't mean that that's who we are. And I don't know, but there's cello baked into a lot of pop and rock songs. You know what I mean? It's just when it's someone playing it live and singing and standing up, then that like really brings that to the forefront, which is unusual. Yeah. And because it's such a melodic instrument, but the way we use it, we also use it as a percussive instrument because for the longest time we didn't have a drummer, and now Adrian's feet are the drummer because he plays a suitcase drum. But it's a bass, and I use it as a bass, but it's a very versatile instrument because it's so similar to the human voice. Like a lot of times it's our fourth band member, like vocally speaking. So it's really an invaluable instrument in the band for sure.
Yeah, I have so much artistic respect for Sydney for being able to sing and also play a lead line at the same time. That is not easy, especially without frets. I can't even say that I would be able to do that on a guitar. But I think one of the things that kind of defines us is that we're really just working with what we have as artists, as instrumentalists, and with our voices. You know, we are constantly pushing our boundaries with what we have. But like for instance, we've never really had a drummer, so we've kind of found ways to be that percussion, that rhythm section just between the three of us, whether it's Regina playing the shaky banana and the tambourine, which is those were the chief instruments that you started out with. And then the addition, now I have a suitcase kick drum that I use just to kind of like give a little bit of foundation. I also have a foot tambourine that I play in our live sets. And yeah, Sydney really does hold down the bass line a lot of the time. But amazingly, she's also able to give these soaring cello solos. So it's kind of an amazing dual purpose instrument or array of instruments that we have.
Yeah, well, I think that people respond to our music, and I think a lot of that comes from it's really, really personal to us. Like, we are working with what we have, and we've never ever tried to fit into something or change our sound to fit into a certain mold. We really are led by what we like as individuals and as a group, and our tastes are super eclectic, and our strengths are super eclectic too. And I think that that's been really lucky, and in the alchemy of all of our different backgrounds has led us to the sound that is sort of like you can't quite pin it down into one genre, which has been frustrating at times because the number one thing people ask is, what genre are you? And we're like, well, we're a little bit of everything. But I love that, and I wouldn't change it for the world, because I think that music, and at least the music that I like to listen to and the artists that I really enjoy, I feel like always are kind of playing with genre, and I feel like the lines between genres are sort of floating a little bit. As more music is more accessible.
Well, definitely there's harmonies in every song, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Harmony is the backbone. I mean, I would really consider harmony the essential voice of Bandits on the Run. We don't do a song where there isn't three-part harmony in some aspect. Also, our arrangement of having three gives us the ability to have like a leading voice and a backup section of voices, which is really a wonderful versatility.
And we're unique in that we switch off who's the lead voice. So that also gives us more versatility.
Yeah, and we trade, I mean, I call it the stack, like who's singing the low, the middle, and the high. We don't have like a set arrangement. I mean, we have like kind of some sweet spots that we found over the years, but oftentimes me and Regina are trading who we're switching back and forth, or me and Sydney will switch back and forth, or Sydney and Regina will switch back and forth, and we'll do these like crossing harmonic lines. And so like it's always really fun to be arranging with these wonderful humans because we try lots of different stuff. And
well, it definitely for me evokes the 60s, and definitely you mentioned the Beatles. I also think of the Mamas and the Papas and the Byrds and Crosby, Stills, Nash, and the classic Laurel Canyon harmonic sound. And I don't know if that would be a way to describe, they didn't use a cello and a suitcase drum as much. I don't think.
I mean, that was actually a lot of what we were listening to when we started. And in fact, for a while we were playing kind of like more in the vein of like doo-woppy and 50s and 60s
totally
rock.
And I was also thinking Phil Spector produced without the wall of sound. It was like kind of like these Shirelles kind of a lot of
we played a Shirelles song when we first started.
Yeah, because we were busking in the subway. We were obviously just starting out as a band, so we didn't have many original songs. So a lot of the covers we would choose to do would be things like that, like the Shirelles or.
Thank you for listening to Backstory Song. If you like our podcast, you can become a patron at our Patreon page, where you will receive bonus interview tracks with your favorite songwriters and early release access to upcoming episodes. It is only $3 per month, or the price of a cup of coffee, to become a Backstory Song patron. I asked this when you write the lyrics out. I call it the woo-woos. When it's like woo-woo, woo-woo, hoo-hoo, loo-loo. Like, what do you actually write when like some of your songs have the woo-woos?
Oh, yeah.
Like, name some of your songs that have that kind of stuff.
A lot of our songs.
A lot of
Funky Ghost has like the iconic...
Definitely Cowboy on the Run.
Yeah. Cowboy on the Run, yeah.
Yeah. What do we my favorite new one is we have this song She's the Queen that we've been working on that we have this like ba da 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 da, which is like that syllable is so much fun to jam out. Yeah, the
bapas and the datas.
Yeah, they're just bapas. We're like a trumpet section for like 30 seconds in that song, which is so fun.
Because I think the uses of la-las, whoa, shananas, like they need to come back because they're super fun.
Yes, it's the voice as an instrument, like from the solo, like, instrumental soloist kind of like what Louis Armstrong would do with his with his like vocal lines. He was just kind of like redoing a trumpet line with his voice, and I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And
so do you do that? Do you like create that when you're working on the song, performing it, or do you actually like write it out? I think this should be da 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 da.
We write it out.
You write it out?
Yeah, we write it out. Yeah, it's I mean, there'll be some times when we're in the early forms of writing a song and performing it, like when we're busking or if we're like kind of just showing it to friends where we'll improvise some of those things and then think, oh, well, that's interesting. Let's add that in. But for the most part, they're very to us like a very essential part of the song. So it goes like, as much as anything else has care and love and attention paid to it, those definitely have
100%
as much.
The question always amounts to being what syllable it is. Like there are many times when we go back and forth, like is that a or an ooh or an ah? We're very familiar with the different things that those different syllables conjure.
Right.
Like ah is like more of a flat sound or a wider sound, and ooh is a little bit better for like being a mellower background vocal. It really depends on what we're using it for.
A Love in the Underground.
Yeah.
Love in the Underground.
Yeah, I don't even think we've told the full story.
Yeah, keep going.
We told a lot of it.
Well, no. I mean, this is cool because we're coming up on a release. We're about so in the last year we've kind of put the cap on the final version of the song. When we were out, we did a little bit of time in California, which was a really great place to just kind of like spitball and put the finishing touches on things. And then we entered that song into the Tiny Desk contest at NPR Music. We didn't win the contest, but they really liked the song and they featured it. They invited us to play at the Tiny Desk on the Road show. And so that it really has become our calling card for like on the national music scene, which is great because it really does kind of tell our story and our vibe. But recently we were going into the studio to record with our friend and producer, William Garrett. He kind of was able to sneak us into Electric Lady Studios in the Village in Manhattan. And this is an old studio. It's a storied studio because Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix recorded there. And the architect who designed Studio A has gone on to do a bunch of different studios around the world and recording studios. We did the whole thing in 1 day or 2 days. And at the end of the second day, William was going to go, he was mixing, I think he was comping a vocal track. And he was like, I need some time. Why don't you guys just go over to the piano and like do a different version figure out a different version of the song. And so we spent probably about an hour figuring out how we could play the song with just piano and vocals.
The inspiration was really like, I think maybe I was privy to this with William when you were recording something, but the piano in that room was so great. Yes, and so that was really, so yet again, we kind of ended up writing another version of Love in the Underground, but this one was just with different arrangements because the piano in the studio was so fabulous. And we were like, what if we just did just a really quick take of a version of this song on the piano. And that's what we ended up doing. And we loved it so much that we were like, okay, well, we really have to honor this version. Because it kind of happened in a snap, but it was like, we found it to be really lovely. And it unveiled another side of the story of the song, having a different vibe, having different instrumentation. And so we wanted to share that as well.
And honestly, it was really refreshing as songwriters who work with similar instruments most of the time to like sit down just at a piano, which is an instrument we never use, and use only a piano in our voices and see what happened. And it was really illuminating because it was like, okay, yeah, it is a good song. It's not like just the bells and whistles of like how cool it is that the cool instruments that we play and like our stage presence or whatever, like at its essence, like it's actually a good song, which is cool and validating. And like, I'm really excited for people to hear it because so many people are familiar with the other version, like just to see like the different colors that come out when something as simple as like taking down the tempo and changing an instrument can tell just a completely different story.
Yeah, so I mean, we're working on the release right now. It's going to be an A-side, B-side of the same song. Oh. Lots of different harmonies and completely different arrangements. The A-side is very up-tempo and bright. The B-side, the piano version, is a lot more melancholy and lonely. And we're excited for that dichotomy to come out in this release. We're also working on a video that kind of goes through both sides of the song.
So, and it also, this song is definitely an example of how we're taking our time a little bit more as a band as we go through, which I feel bad sometimes because I know it's frustrating for our fans who come to our shows, and we have so many new songs that we're playing, and they always are asking us, when are they coming out? And we're like, we promise we're doing it as fast as we can, but we really are giving ourselves times as a band now to experiment a little bit more with our songs and to give it a little bit more air as we're recording it, because everything that we want to put out, I think we said before, we want it to be the best version that it can be. So we're really excited with how this song has developed over time, and releasing the A-side and B-side and the 2 music videos is really going to demonstrate like the different sides of this one song.
Well, I think it's fascinating to me that you're releasing an actual 45 that might get played on jukeboxes if they still exist. And I don't know.
We hope so.
I don't know anybody who has a 45 record player anymore, but I guess they're coming back.
Oh, they're definitely coming back. Actually, we have a friend that just worked on a production, a TV production with Sarah Barry Ellis. And the cast present was actually record players.
Okay.
So vinyl is definitely.
I know vinyl's coming back, and I guess you still can put those little plastic inserts in the record and play them on either 35 or 45.
You can do. They're making 45s now with the tiny pinhole center, so you can do it. You can
just straight
play
out
it on a regular record player.
You don't need the little inserts.
Thank God.
Well, that's wonderful that you're doing that. Now, you touched on something that I ask a lot of the songwriters. When do you know a song is done? And it sounds like this one's been hard. It's a very hard thing. Like, when is it done? Like, do you have to get out and perform it and get the audience reaction? And then do you try new stuff when you perform? Like, do you experiment?
I think this answer might be kind of maddening, but I think that when you know, you know. Like, I know it's so cheesy. But for example, we have this one song, Cadillac, that we've been working on for, at this point, a couple years. And the thing is, we performed it, we've been experimenting, and the audience likes it every iteration that we do, and we like it, but we just don't have that, punch to the gut, like, all kind of knowing, like, aha, this is, like, you need to stop. Like, I feel like, you know how, like, painters have a moment where you're just like, I don't put anything else on there. We've had that feeling with songs before, and it's kind of a very ephemeral feeling.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of know when it's done, when you as the artist want to play it again and again. When you keep coming back to it as like this is me. This is I feel like when something is not totally finished, we always are going into it, playing it, like being like, we should play this to like try to workshop it, but it's not as much of a full-throated endorsement of the song yet until it's at that point, you know. But there have been, Love in the Underground, I thought we were done with it before we ended up putting the final touches on it. So I don't know, it is hard to know.
I think it's different for everyone too, and I mean, the three of us are really emotional people, and so I don't like my first impulse was to be like, I know it's done when I cry, like, because I don't know. There's like a switch, you know, and it's like it doesn't happen for every song, but for most of her songs, I feel like there's like an arrival point where it feels like almost like relief or something. Like there's like this wind that feels like, all right, it's ready to be seen. Yeah, when you want to play it for people, I feel like that's when it's like we want to show people like look what we made. Like that's, I don't know. Yeah, there's I don't know. There's like an emotional.
Do you have different types of cry? Like Eskimos have different words for snow.
Oh, I have so many cries. I cry I love crying. I cry
is that
all
like
the time.
A finished song cry?
There's a finished song cry. There's like a frustrated, why can't I sing this right cry. There's a why did I write such a hard song to play for myself cry. Like there's a lot.
Why is this song so sad? Or the subject material, why is it so sad? Cry.
There's a soft, dewy, after it's all done, looking at the audience like, wow, aren't we lucky cry.
That's my favorite cry.
There's a happy cry?
The happy cry. Yeah.
There's a oh my God, I messed that harmony up again. I have to try again, cry.
Sometimes that's just a blank stare though, like I'm dead inside.
Backstory Song's mission is to help songwriters and their work get found and discovered so they can make a living and keep on creating great songs. The best way to pay a songwriter is to listen to their songs. Unfortunately, with the decline of radio listeners, songwriters who live off royalties do not make the same royalties they used to. Please help out the Backstory songwriters by listening to their songs on our playlist. Share Backstory song episodes with your friends on your social media and encourage them to do the same. By liking and sharing Backstory song on your social media, you'll be helping the songwriters on this podcast. So let's talk about another song.
Yeah.
Are we done on Love? Love in the Underground?
Yeah.
I'm glad you called it the Underground and not the Subway. Because Love in the
Subway.
Subway sounds like this awful thing.
And it was about poetry, not about the UK transit system.
For me, it was about the UK transit system.
Okay, well,
that's okay.
agree to disagree.
What song do you want to talk about?
I like the cowboy one.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to know that you are not where you think you are, but in the deserts of New Mexico. And beneath you is not your floor, but dust and tumbleweeds. If you listen very closely, you can still hear the rumble of the train. Wah, wah, wah. Rivers running through, loving it with you. Inspiration comes like the next day, the next and the next and the next and the next. Nowhere I couldn't go, no one I wouldn't know. Freedom was feeling you way up to the sky. You and I, so secure, crystal clear.
That's a great song to start or to go on to because it was one of our earliest
first
songs.
ones.
And in fact, you, Regina, aka Clarissa, wrote the lyrics to the song before I even met you.
Yeah. So the beginnings of this song, it's called Cowboy on the Run. Before I moved to New York, I was good friends with Sydney, but I hadn't met Adrian yet. And I wanted to move to New York, but like kind of long story short, I was stuck in North Carolina working on a house, and I kept on. It was one of those situations where I had to wait way longer than I wanted to move. And I was feeling really stuck and also in like a creative rut. I just came out of school and I was coming from a time where I was creating every day, and that's like my nature. And so to be in a place where that wasn't happening felt really difficult and a struggle, and it was kind of like life just slapping in the face. And so I wrote the words and the melody and like a couple of chords to Cowboy on the Run, like in the small house in North Carolina, as a way of expressing my frustration, because the song is sort of framed as a romantic relationship where the cowboy has left, but and I don't say this too often because people listen to the song and have different like interpretations of what it means. But for me, when I wrote it, it's about an artistic life going away for a bit, about the opportunity to create leaving for a moment and how that was making me feel very deserted and very lost. It's actually kind of a beautiful story that I never expected to be in a band. I kind of, wrote songs for fun. My background is I mostly was writing poetry. And then when me and Sydney were in school together, like we were friends, we were hanging out, and I was like, oh, look, I wrote this poem. And she was like, oh, let's put it to music. And then we ended up kind of having a very easy collaboration. And then obviously that has grown from there.
She was like, that song needs a cello.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so when I moved to New York, I moved in with Sydney. And then all three of us, we were hanging out in the apartment all the time. I don't even remember the exact moment when I showed it to you guys, but I'm sure that I was like, oh, I have this thing that I wrote. And then we added harmonies, and Adrian made the guitar part so much better. And we performed it in the subway. And it's really funny to think about when the song started and where it is now. It's like, talk about like wanting art to come back into your life. I mean, I like that has happened in a super major way. Yeah, so that's the genesis point of that song. And that was one of the first songs that we performed together as a band because when we were first getting together and playing in the subway, how we were like, okay, well, we need to go down there. It's like, what songs do we know together? Like, oh, we should write some songs. We definitely, our impulse as people is to sort of perform first and then and then work out the details later.
So what are the lyrics about?
So the lyrics are about missing a creative life that has left you, but it also could be about any love in your life. For me, it's art, but for anybody else, it could be something that you once had that has gone. And also, we were playing with being bandits on the run, and we were talking, working with cowboy imagery in the American West, and that sort of the image of a cowboy riding into the sunset, but that we think of all the time. But what about the person that the cowboy left? Like, how do they feel?
So I've interviewed a lot of country and Western musicians, both country and Western. I actually covered the Western poetry, which is just this awesome crowd of people. You guys have to come to it and play. It'd be wonderful. But this is not a country Western song.
No. It's sort of it's very like inspired by those themes, but it's I don't know how exactly you describe it. It's at times it's
funny because there's a certain like Motown 6/8 vibe to it too. Although obviously we didn't have the full arrangement of Motown. I think thematically though it has the wistfulness of a lot of country Western stuff. And the brokenheartedness of that. So I don't know. It's funny to go that far back because that was really when we were in the heart of our like old timey doo-woppy phase.
Yes,
so,
it's a very doo-woppy.
Yeah.
And we were writing a lot of songs in 6/8 at that point.
Yes, yeah.
And playing like a cover of Blue Moon in 6/8 that was really fun. But at a certain point we had to like cut ourselves off from 6/8 for a time because you can't play 6/8 on every song.
So on Spotify, your top most popular songs are What to Do, Funky Ghost, Potted Plant, Paris, and Blue Heaven. I like Blue Heaven. I really like that song. But
no,
I like them all.
There's a good story behind Blue Heaven. That was one that we wrote probably in the first year or so of being together. Actually, we all lived at a certain point in this loft building in Brooklyn that had amazing staircases, just 3 stories, but they're kind of stacked in an interesting, weird way. And so I have a very vivid memory of Regina showing me the lyrics to that song and the melody that she was thinking. And she was like, I think it needs a xylophone hit right here. And that was happening out in the staircase with these like wonderful acoustics.
Well, I remember she showed you that, but I was gone because I was in Seattle doing a show for like a couple months. And then I came back and we were like talking about Bandits, and Regina's like, I have this idea for a song. And I distinctly remember us like going into the staircase specifically like for her to show us the song. And she just had her xylophone and she like sang the song a cappella, but did like the xylophone hit that goes bing, 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 bing. And it was like, I loved it so much, but it was like,
it just makes me think of the Jimmy Kimmel show where they do that, where they play the
like
xylophone all around.
But I definitely remember like distinctly the first time I heard that song was like, let's go into the staircase. We've got the xylophone. And I just like, I don't know, like that birth story is like so distinct in my mind. Yeah.
But Reg, why don't you talk about the story behind writing it?
Yeah. So the story behind writing it is it's kind of an experiment on how can you talk about harder aspects of love and package it in a really fun, friendly, playful musical frame. Because when I was writing the words for it, it was coming from a point where my uncle had just passed away and my family was going through a hard time, and I had friends whose family members were also passing away, and it felt very much like there was just a big awareness of death, which sounds very heavy, but that's what was happening at the time. And it just made me rethink like certain relationships that I have in my family and, and things that are strained and things, that at the end of the day, like what's most important is loving the people that you're with and being very generous with love and not letting like small. It's okay if I curse on this, or not letting the bullshit of life get in the way of loving people to your full capacity and in the way that they deserve, and so the song is about that, but it's kind of a heavy, complex topic. But we wanted really to make the song fun and a dance tune and kind of funky and kind of silly. Yeah, so I like pairing kind of opposites,
Yeah, no, a lot of your music has that serious lyric, thoughtful lyric, against sort of a playful, goofy, fun melody with the harmonies overlaid. And
that's what we try to do in a nutshell is retain the emotional authenticity of our lyrics, or the emotional state that the lyrics come from, and the personal stories behind them, but dress them up in a fun, unique, engaging way. And that's also what we're trying to do with our Bandits personas, is just that we feel like that it gives permission for everybody at our concerts to like kind of exist in a world that's maybe not so heavy and weighty with the reality of the world outside. Just anybody can be a bandit, and anybody can join this playful atmosphere. But we are going to talk about the real shit that's happening to us in our lives,
what does Blue Heaven mean to you guys?
I think we probably all have different interpretations of it. But to me, I mean, it's a song about loving people despite all the pain that you may inflict on each other, which I think is like kind of the truest reason for love, or the truest way of loving is like you always hurt the ones you love. Like the emotional proximity that you have with your friends and family means that people are gonna get hurt sometimes, but you just work through it, and it kind of sums up what we like, all the stuff that we've gone through as a band. We've been through some tough times, but we've always like kind of pulled together and continued to communicate.
No, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I was just gonna say, I think the term Blue Heaven is clever because, I mean, heaven is just this sort of ultimate feeling of bliss, and then you've got blue, which is, there's like a whole genre of music dedicated to being sad called the blues. You know what I mean? So it's like it's those things coexisting, and
somewhat oxymoronic.
Like yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's what love is. I mean, whenever you love somebody, it's not true love if you're not willing to be hurt, and sometimes you do get hurt because you're being vulnerable, and that's what that's the risk that you take in order to actually love in a way that is big and bold and heavenly. In order to get that, you have to resign yourself to the fact that this crazy idea of like perfect love doesn't exist. It's like, it's a blue heaven. That's what heaven is. Heaven is a blue heaven.
Was this written about a person specifically, or?
Yeah, it was written about a couple people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they know that?
No,
okay.
Which is funny. But, I don't know, maybe one day I'll send them this podcast and be like, hint, hint.
You got that look in your eyes again, on that faraway prize again. You look right through me while you're talking to me. Got that look in your eyes again. days I find it hard to get out of bed when the rain starts. The light that's still in me ain't enough to send me out of bed when the rain starts. Oh, what to do?
What to do? That's your most popular on Spotify.
Yes.
Yeah. This song is kind of another one with sort of dark lyrics, I guess. I was at a time, I guess I was like in my early 20s writing this song where I felt very frustrated. I feel like a few of my songs come from a place of frustration, which is strange, but just like feeling a little worn down and unsure of the direction that I wanted to take, and being like not a great person because of it. Like feeling like, because I felt like I was sort of like climbing up a wall and like falling back down again so many times, that sort of damages your generosity of spirit. So this song was sort of like a pledge to myself to, like, when it's like, I'm going to get it right this time with love, no jealousy or spite this time, like get up. It's a song to myself, honestly. I was just like, it's a monologue, basically. Like, I like looking at myself in the mirror and being like, I'm seeing this hurt that you're going through, and like, it's not over. It's going to be okay, you know? So yeah, it's a very sort of like introspective thing. But yeah, I mean, I think there was like a bridge in that song when I first wrote it, and then like we like took it out because we decided we didn't need it like that. But it was a pretty fast write. Like I feel like I wrote that song in like an afternoon mostly.
And like going back to what we were saying before, that song is one of those songs where like a switch was flipped and we're like, yeah, it's done. And I really love this song, and this song is definitely one that people respond very, very viscerally to. And I think it's because Sydney, like the fact that it is a monologue, it's always so tempting to think like in frustrating moments that you're the only person who's ever felt a feeling. And I think it's really relieving for our audiences to hear that song, because I get people coming up to me all the time saying how much they love it, because, you know, I think people really feel seen by that song. And that's been really exciting to me to hear from people over the years, is how people put that song on loop. You know, it's nice.
Well, and going back to like what you said about Cowboy on the Run, like that's how I felt when I was writing this song. But people have come to me with like different interpretations, like that song like got me through a breakup, or like someone told me it was the song they listen to on the subway when the train is stuck to like calm themselves down, which I thought was like so awesome. And
wait till you hear Love in the Underground.
Right. But and then like someone else, it's kind of funny, the day after the 2016 election was our like single release of that song, Funky Ghost and Paris. So we had like a big concert like the day after the election, and we had a lot of friends who were really bummed out, and a lot of them said that song really resonated to them, like in terms of like the world in that moment, which I thought was just like wild, because I would have never expected that to be like a resonant thing in that situation. So it's just like, you never know, like once you've created it, it's not yours anymore. It's like, it's everyone's, and they're going to use it how they need to use it.
So I mean, this might be a great way to talk about the way that we generally kind of work on songs is often one of us will come with an idea or a melody, a set of lyrics and a melody, and we'll all sit down together and kind of figure out the rhythm, the tone, the instrumentation, even the chords. And this was a song that I really remember having a simple chord structure originally that kind of morphed into like these different chords that we could play that would bring out a little bit of the darkness behind it. And it was also one of the first songs that we really, really dipped into these using our voices as instruments in an innovative way. We have this section.
Yeah, the doo-doos.
You have the oohs and the doo-doos in this song.
Which is definitely a little Lou Reed nod.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah. A lot of this song is a Lou Reed nod, actually. Like the first couple chords kind of sound like the beginning of, what is it? Take a Walk on the Wild Side. So like, which is funny, but like I don't know. But when we were doing the doo-doos, then that's like when that came together. Like,
originally the first draft of the song, we had the doo-doo
Yeah.
from
Right.
Take a Walk on the Wild Side. We're just doing that instead of do.
And you're like, we can't do that.
Yeah,
It's
we're
already
like,
been done.
that's too much.
Well,
It's already been done.
We were actually. It's funny because it was right around the same time as Cowboy on the Run, or we'd written
Well, it's
on
a little
Cowboy
after
on the Run
Cowboy
like
on
a
the Run,
couple
yeah.
months before, and we had made a reference to Bang Bang Shoot Shoot
yeah.
of the
So
Beatles.
we're like, what if we
So we're
just
like, we could
reference
just-
amazing songs at all of our
Yeah,
songs?
great artist steal, right?
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
really happy with. In the end, we like ended up having this like echoing thing where Regina and I were just trading doo-doos. And it's a really fun moment to play live too, because it kind of feels like the arrangement has been so big up until that point, and then it really like swoops back and it's just the cello and those two voices trading off, and it's thrilling for me when we get to those moments.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Backstory Song. If you like our podcast, you can become a patron at our Patreon page, where you will receive bonus interview tracks with your favorite songwriters and early release access to upcoming episodes. It is only $3 per month, or the price of a cup of coffee, to become a Backstory Song patron. You know what I love about your cello? It reminds me of Tammy Rogers, who I interviewed from the Steel Drivers, and she plays the fiddle, and but when you listen to her, she plays the fiddle like an electric guitar. She does these electric guitar solos, like you do solos, not like classical cello solos. You're making sounds that sound, much more like, a guitarist on a solo.
I think it's because I listen to that kind of music more than I do classical now. Like I haven't really. I'll still dabble in classical music. I love it, but it's like
You're doing rock solos.
Yeah. The things that make me that light me up are more rock based. So yeah,
It's I have to say, as Sydney's bandmate, it's really fun to watch her come up with a solo, and often they're being developed over a long period
oh
of
yeah,
time.
I never know when a solo is done. Like when it's right. Like I'm always experimenting with it.
Which makes recording really funny, because often it'll change during the course of recording a song. And then it's up on the internet forever, and and it will always be that way, or we're making a distinct change from it when we play it live.
I would never guess that this is an introspective song. The opening lyric, you got that look in your eyes. It's like you're having a conversation with someone else, or you're not a conversation, you're looking at someone else. But
Well, I journal a lot, and sometimes I do talk to myself as you are feeling this. So I don't know. Yeah, I think this kind of comes from that, I guess. But yeah, that you're totally right. It sounds like an insane person. It's like, I wrote this song about myself, talking to myself. Yeah.
I think that's why people sometimes construe it as a breakup song,
Right,
or
yeah,
about
yeah,
not being able to access your partner's emotions
Right,
in some ways, because you are you're looking through a mirror in this song that you can't necessarily get past the wall.
Right.
You know?
But I love hearing people's different interpretations of songs.
Yes.
It's endlessly fascinating because we know the original impulse and we also know each other very well. So I will never get tired of people coming up and being like, oh yeah, that song, thank you for it. It reminds me of this. And sometimes it will literally be the exact opposite of what we thought. But we never correct anybody because it's like, if that's what it is for you, that's what it is for you. And that's so fun for us to hear about and to understand. And it makes us kind of, I don't know, think about the nature of songwriting in a really fun way that if you're honest and you put something out there, obviously it means one thing to you, but that honesty sort of almost means more than the actual literal intention. People can feel the truth of it, but sometimes they build their own narrative around it. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating what people say.
Yeah, everybody listens to songs in their own way, and it's kind of beautiful. Everybody plays songs in their own way. It can be such an individual, unique experience, what you get from a particular song. And another funny song that happens with is Paris, I think.
Oh my God.
Paris.
All the time.
Oh, let's talk about Paris.
Oh my God. All the time.
I love this song.
So many people come up to me and go, I'm heartbroken. You must have really had your heart broken. This song is a breakup song. And to me, it's a love song. To me, the song is about finding someone or something that's so exciting to you. And who knows if you'll ever get the fantasy A++ version, but any version that you get is going to be exciting. Paris. But you can draw me like one of your French girls. I dream of getting married. You dream of traveling the world. I've never been to Paris. But baby, maybe that's alright. 'Cause when I look at you now, I see my own city of light. Hold it steady, camera ready. 3, 2, 1, and I'm dying to expose. We're getting older, getting poorer. If it's something God only knows. I think I love you, I think I know how, I think I want to, that I'm ready now. According to the script, I need to edit our seasons.
I also do want to say, like, something I love about Regina is that she'll bring a song to us and she'll be like, I don't know if the lyrics in the second verse are like any good, like, but we can change them later, blah, blah, blah. And we never do, because we're always like, this is perfect. Like, I remember that happened with Cowboy on the Run, and it happened with Paris. Like, second verse, Regina's always like, I don't know about the second verse. And I'm always like, it's so good. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know. That's a fun little fact about like something I've noticed about the process. It's just like,
surfboard, softcore, breathe.
yeah, I know. Like, yeah, because like I can see why you'd be like, oh, is this too like, I don't know, interpretational or whatever? But it's like, it's so vibey, really. I don't know. I think
Paris is definitely one of our songs that is the most what's the word that I'm looking for? Like it's one of the most poetic. It's one of the most up for interpretation. It's not direct storytelling, you know.
Yeah.
So I've never been to Paris, but you can draw me like one of your French girls.
Titanic.
We love referencing other things in our songs.
Yeah.
I'm, like,
That's
noticing
from the
this.
Titanic?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we did. Yeah, it's from Titanic, because it's one of my favorite movies. But also, it is kind of an emotional shortcut. Because anybody who has seen that movie, which is most people in America, when you hear that, it instantly takes you to that feeling of like being so in love and being enamored and being like, oh, Jack, like, you know, it's like new love.
Well, and vulnerability too. Like in that moment, like if you've seen the movie, you know what's happening. Like she's naked and she's like, you know what I mean? Like that's such a cool thing. Like I've never been to Paris. But you can draw me like one of your French girls. That's so just like I'm here to be vulnerable with you. Like, and I love that. It is an emotional shortcut. That's a good word.
Yeah, we know how that ended.
A true tragic love story of our time.
That's not how our story ended. Because we wrote this song, we were playing it in the subways for years, and then eventually we when we won the Coffee Music Project, we got flown out to London, and we made a stop in Paris while we were there.
Oh, you did? So you've been to Paris
We have
as
now
a group?
been to Paris.
Did you sing the song in Paris?
Of course. Oh my God.
course,
They
of
loved
course.
it.
What's the story you always tell? Yeah.
Well, I was actually worried when we were playing it in Paris that people would be confused because everyone's like, you're in Paris now? What you mean? But they loved it. And it's funny now, since we've been to Paris, we've actually been to Paris twice. We've been lucky enough. We love France. But we actually had a discussion where like, can we keep on playing this song? Does it feel untruthful? But now we kind of we'll substitute other songs in a joke way. We'll be like, I've never been to Reno or something.
That's the one that William Garrett, our friend and producer, he really likes to sing the song a la like a big band song, but it's called "I've Never Been to Reno."
Okay.
By the way, William Garrett has his own bandit name. I think we'd be remiss not to say
yes.
his bandit name is Lucky Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he looks like Jesus except he has white hair, so he's Lucky Jesus.
Okay.
He's like the Jesus that got to live to his 50s.
Nice. And this song has the ahs in it, not the
Yes.
not the
Oh,
woos
yeah.
or the doo-doos. This is ahs.
It's
It-
more. It's
This
it's
is
bigger.
This was like conjuring like a cathedral. We wanted to conjure cathedral resonance, the reverb of like Notre Dame.
The reverence.
Yes. And I kept thinking about. Do you remember that movie Catch Me If You Can?
Yes, I love that movie.
Yeah, do you
And
remember
I've
that-
seen the original guy give a speech.
Really? Oh my
Frank
God.
Abernathy. It's
No
great.
way.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, wow. But there's a scene in the end where he's like escaped the United States and he's in France, and Tom Hanks like tracks him down to this little tiny town in France, and it's snowing. It's like Christmas Eve, and there's the midnight mass happening at a church like a couple doors down, and you just hear this like beautiful choral music happening in the background of this entire scene. And I, for some reason, like that's what I was thinking about when we were building those ahs.
Huh.
I was
Interesting.
But from a fun collaborative standpoint, like that section to me, I feel like really is the hallmark of our alchemy together, because I remember being very surprised in how, like, you really surprised me with the chord structures. You really kind of went outside the box, and then like the ahs built on top of it, and it ended up being this I think very unique build.
We recently got to sing this song with a choir, singing the ahs behind it, and it was just like a really cool bucket list moment where it was like,
I would like
That's
to
how it
hear
moves.
that.
Yeah.
That sounds like I Can't Always Get What You Want, or something. Opening sequence of that.
Well,
or-
that was
Yeah,
always
it
a
was.
dream of ours. We've always wanted to do a children's choir in our songs, which we haven't totally met that bucket list goal yet. Although working with the Urban Choir Project on the Oz for
They're
Paris was they're a grown up choir.
They're adults.
We did though for our
The way we talk about them, we're like, we love them so much. They're so cute. They're lovely. They are full on adults. They're just lovely people. We should be clear.
but although we did get to do it like a simulated children's choir on one of the Christmas tunes that we worked out for a little Christmas EP that we did. We invited like our 6 friends that could sing the highest to the studio, and we just recorded everybody singing at the top of their range as loud as they could.
and you can hear that on our Christmas EP. It's Baby Please Come Home is the song we did it on. It's really hilarious.
And the EP is called We Three Bandits.
Yes.
You get it? We like to have fun with our names.
So after the Oz, it's surfboard, softcore, breathe more. But what does that mean?
What do you think it means?
It's a good, fair question.
well,
you don't have to answer these questions.
I won't answer all of them
You
because
don't
I
have
enjoy
to.
how big it's. But I will say one. So, surfboard is from the Beyonce song "Drunken Love" because
Okay.
when we were writing it, that song was really big. But it's also it's like talking about just how things just go. You know, things are wavy. I don't know.
Things are wavy.
But that is a direct Beyonce reference.
Okay. You guys are very referential.
Referential and reverential.
Yes.
We
Irreverential.
love our reference.
Irreverential. Well, thank you very much. And we're here with Bandits on the Run. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.